Last session, the company left Swampar, the last soft light before the expanse, with a creaking wagon, one long-suffering horse, and tempers already frayed. Grathis realized a cherished recipe book, a dangerous, mind-warping find he'd pored over the night before, had gone missing. Esteban coolly admitted he'd taken it to keep the lizard folk from hurting himself again, and only returned it after a bitter exchange. They collected Grathis's masterwork manacles from the guard captain as promised, and trudged out. Marsh gave way to rising plains, then to hills where snow clung to distant crowns. They made camp beneath a hard sky. Grathis cooked a rich stew and brewed tea from his sack of curious leaves. The meal fortified them. The tea, however, wired their minds. Near midnight, Artie's shoulders began to heave in a strange rhythm. Fleshy tendrils pulsed along his frame. He turned, eyes cold, and whispered one word: "Die!" He crashed into Grathis. Esteban scrambled up and tried to wrench Artie across the fire with a swift, risky spell, but the construct shoved it off and strode through him with a skull-rattling strike. Grathis's psionic arts bled the rage toward himself as he raised invisible armor and hurled shadowed senses to blind Artie. The fight was vicious and close until, in one haunted instant, Artie touched his face, felt living meat where there should be none, and fell dark. They locked his wrists in steel and waited for dawn. By the pale light, Artie had no memory of the assault. Esteban, finally clear-headed, recalled a grim detail from his studies. The Tagamaling curse often drives its victims into fugue-like rages. The answer lay in the mountains. They pushed hard, slept hard, and 2 days later found a weathered ladder climbing to a lonely ledge. A glassy spring welled there, cold as a blade. Esteban smoothed the snow, poured sacred powder, and traced a tight ritual circle. Grathis balked at the Mingari draft, but with Artie and Esteban fixed on him, he choked it down. Artie anointed his wooden and stone body with the bitter oil. The chant rose. Black, viscous malice seeped from each of them and stood up in the snow as 3 warped reflections. The melee was immediate. Evil Artie stomped forward, chanting "Destroy," while the true Artie shoved raw, destructive energy through his own hand, shattering fingers to lance the double off the ledge. It vanished in a distant bloom. Evil Grathis hissed about being the lesser brother and went for Grathis's hat with teeth and claws. The lizard folk pinned jaws and ripped into him in return. Evil Esteban siphoned Netheress sigils straight from the markings on the real Esteban's arm and hurled crackling orbs. Esteban answered by calling up an ogre zombie that clubbed the caster's spine. Then Esteban let loose a lightning bolt. The world went dark. Evil Grathis unraveled into shadow and streamed into evil Esteban. A second tug tore from Artie. Ice crawled over the swelling mass as it knitted together. When the gloom peeled back, a single towering horror, gestalt of their 3 curses, stood bound in frost at the edge of the spring, its eyes opening as the wind died. The ritual had worked, but it had also called up something worse.